Electra 225. A thought crossed my mind a couple of weeks ago that the back of this car, I was trying to get my finger on it. I never really had any kind of yearning for a big old Buick Electra. Not at all, never thought about it. And I was looking at the back of the car thinking, boy, that looks just like a Chrysler 300. I'm just tootling up Route 7 between Massachusetts and Vermont. We just entered the state line. It was right there. We just entered Vermont. What do I see? Some guy's car collection of all these old cars. Some of them a bit newer and some a bit older. Porthole Thunderbird, new tires, just sitting here in the weeds. With its fiberglass front fender. I don't know whose cars they are, but there's a whole bunch of them. And some of them are rusted duct tape junk. But, back to the Chrysler, this looks like a 68. 3 years newer than mine because it's got the little square side marker light integrated into the front bumper. It's got cornering lamps. It's got really plain hubcaps. It's got some speed spats. Tinted glass. Hideaway headlights. Boy, my Buick could use those. Optional on the GTO, but not on the Buick. But look how similar the rear end treatment is. This is the bad side, this quarter panel. I think it was repainted because the letters are a bit crooked. And that L just isn't looking very good. I know it's got some rot in the quarter down here. One day I'll open her up and see what the deal is, why those letters are crooked. Who knows? Anyhow, so this Chrysler 300, I've actually looked more at Chryslers from this era with their little turn signal indicator on the fender spear. I remember these cars better than I remember the Buick. Maybe they sold more Chryslers in my neck of the woods. Big old Chrysler 300. I got a 225, this is a 300. I think they made 300s before they made 225s. These date back to what, mid-50s, the letter series? A, B, C, D, E. So the back is kind of normalish with just a little spat here with a fender extension because they couldn't stamp the fender that far back and get all the pieces without stretching, so they reluctantly put this fender extension on, and it's in better shape from the factory than my Grand Prix, which has a huge gap. Well, it's got a gap too. This car's not rusty, but sitting here in the weeds isn't helping. I suspect that's what's in my Buick rust. Just sitting here, somebody's collection, not doing it a thing of good. It's got a split 2 bucket seats with an armrest in the middle, tilt telescopic steering. Nice old Chrysler. Just can't let them sit as a lawn ornament. They don't get any better with age. No power antenna. Yeah, hideaway headlights, but the Buick doesn't have them, but the GTO could have. Electric or vacuum? Interesting. Probably has a big old 440. Blow the doors off this thing with a 401, but the next year, 2 years from here, 67, they got the 430, then the 455, and that was a rocket ship. The nail heads just were, all right. Interesting how the front and rear treatments are so similar. And the back end's nothing special. A little puddle jumping here. And the front end on mine does not have an extension built in. It's stamped right into the fender. Hard to do that. Definitely a nice front end. Maybe one day I'll take a big old Sawzall and I'll cut this front end off and graft it onto my Buick. What do you think of that? Nicely done. Nicely integrated. Very formal roofline. Headrests, 68. Those were optional. Standard in 69. Nice dash. Telescopic. Armrest, big old brake and gas pedal. I wonder if it has disc brakes. Drum brakes. 440 with drum brakes. And a bolt-on anti-sway bar to the front control arm, locating arm. I had a 67 Pontiac and that rusted right through the frame. I had a guy weld it at the muffler shop. Mobile welding. I said, well, I could do that without paying this guy whatever it cost back in 1978, $100. I could do that, and I do it now. Could have done a bit better on the turn signals, mind you. Integrated into the slot in the lower bumper. At least it's got a curve to it. Some of the GMs just had a plain old lamp, nothing special at all. I like the Grand Prix in '67. Instead of having stacked headlights, they had a turn signal built into the headlamp eliminator cap. Much nicer treatment. Only on the '67 Grand Prix and Grand Prix GN. This is interesting. Why does the front bumper got a piece? Huh! That almost looks like it would be the style that would have a front bumper that went up with the hood, but obviously it doesn't. Really weird. They couldn't get it all in one piece. Hideaway headlights. Oh, rust never sleeps. What a shame. Big old American party barge. Scalloped. The Buick protrudes down the side, gets wider, and the Chrysler is scalloped. Interesting. And the Chrysler 5-pointed star. Well, I like this Chrysler, and Miss Hip Chick likes the Buick. Oh, the Chrysler TC Maserati? Maserati. All kinds of special cars here. Chrysler New Yorker. Look at those big old hinges. Is that style or what? It's got a V, but these didn't have V8s. These were flathead 6-cylinders, I think. Town and country wagon. It has style. Lots of patina. Sitting here, fold down back seat. Ashtrays. Automatic transmission, power steering. Been sitting for a long time. Big old Chrysler. Interesting how the chalk mark never goes away. Wonder when that was written. Wonder how long these tires have been aired up. No leaks at all. Somebody's Hot Rods Chrysler. I think it has a Hemi, a V8 red Ram. No flathead 6-cylinder here. Probably has a big old Hemi. Just sitting, waiting for something. Wire wheels, rack and pinion steering, and that's about it. Patina. Is this a Ford? I don't even know what it is. Uh-oh. Rusted. Overhead valve. It's a Chevy. Chevy had overhead valves back in 1929. Is this a Chevy? I don't know what that star represents. Last on the road, 1981. I think it's a Ford. Fomaco, Ford Motor Corporation. Yep, Ford. So obviously a much more modern engine because Fords didn't have inline sixes after that model. What was that model we saw at the museum? That giant Ford? Looks like a Chevy engine if you ask me, or a newer overhead valve Maverick engine. That's a Ford starter. I don't know. MG. This one looks like it's seen better days. Rack and pinion steering. This thing needs to be sitting in a garage, not out here in the weather. Needs a little bit of body work. Trusting soul, the keys in the ignition. What is it doing sitting here? Arch, left hand rear. Yeah, the parts are here. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to find somebody to restore them. Put all the parts together. Teardrop. Interesting. M&G. Somebody's pride and joy. Not too rusty. There's wood everywhere. The frame is wood and the tin is bent over. And tacked in place, crimped in place. Ran when parked. Dual carbs. Is that the starter switch? What are these cars doing here? Just sitting, waiting for a helping hand. A warm, heated garage. Mercedes S55 AMG junk. You know what AMG Mercedes are good for? Animals that tunnel underneath them. Crunch. Cadillac Eldorado, last year, 76. Yep. In the body shop, taped up. Sitting here for a while. It's got the old TPC specs. Tire performance criteria. Rusted. V8, 500 cubic inch. Rust. Off the road. 10 years, 20 years. I'll cut that down and check the growth rings. Rusted junk. My father had a Cadillac in 75. The door rusted the same way. Well, now they're all sitting here. Who knows?